We have got the football focus back for Thursday night at Kickback Jack's on Battleground. Time to get toward the football playoffs. The high school's cranking up this week. A lot of things going on, a lot of games. Got, I think, 8 Guilford County teams playing tomorrow night?
You're correct, sir.
How about some of these games coming in? You'll be on the road tomorrow night, you said, down at Sanford, right?
Going to go down and see the Dudley Panthers at unbeaten Lee County. Should be an interesting game.
Isn't that the same Lee County team that Burton Cates was at last year?
Boy, I thought he was maybe like Southern Lee, but maybe it was Lee County. But he's obviously back at Eastern.
Yeah, because he left. I see the team like 11-0, so he left the team in pretty good shape. I mean, like he left and everything was kind of being a drop-off. And things are still there for them. They're solid.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to come home. That was the biggest thing there.
And the son was the AD, I guess, at Eastern around all the time. That's probably a boost for him.
Oh, definitely.
And he's in the playoffs. I think he's only got like 1 loss on the year.
Mm-hmm.
But Dudley tomorrow night. Dudley goes on the road, first-round game. What about a 14 seed or something like that for Dudley?
14 seed. Hard to believe. Dudley down there and that bracket is loaded. When you've got Dudley as a 14 and Northern Guilford as a 13 seed, that's a pretty strong 3AA East bracket.
What about, you mentioned Northern Guilford, they're going to be playing Cleveland, not the Browns, but the Rams tomorrow night.
Well, that's where the Rams started out in the NFL, was in Cleveland, too.
That's true.
So...
Well, what about this Cleveland team Northern's facing? What about Northern on the road?
High scoring. Cleveland comes in averaging about 42.5 points a game. Northern, as we know, can score some points, 31 per game, but they're also giving up some points. I would not expect that to be a low-scoring game, and I think if either defense can get 2 or 3 stops, that might be the difference.
Now, you mentioned Northeast, one of your teams kind of look out for because of the playoff experience and Earl Bates, what he's done over the years. He's knocked off key teams when he was at Moorhead. When he was at Southern Guilford, got big wins.
Yeah.
Now he's got a big game tomorrow night as they take off and go down. I guess they're also going to Sanford. You'll be in the same neighborhood, I guess. You're going to Lee County. That's near Sanford. They're going to Terry Sanford, I guess.
Fayetteville.
Yeah, there you go.
Fayetteville, Terry Sanford. Yeah, that's... they're coming off of a little bit of a tough loss last week, 7-6 to Moorhead, and didn't play particularly well. But Terry Sanford's a good team, but Earl's had a way of doing things in the playoffs that wouldn't shock me. The other team that's kind of a dark horse for me a little bit is Southwest Guilford.
Right, because they go up to South Iredell, right?
Yeah, a 6-5 team, and Southwest defense is good enough to carry them on a playoff run, but they've got to get a little bit more out of their offense, kind of like Dudley in that respect.
And we got tomorrow night Chris Walzer and Jason Lippard. Mr. Lippard, former Northeast coach, will be calling that game for us tomorrow night up at South Iredell. So Chris is on the road on Greensboro Sports Radio 2, and he and Coach Walzer Walzer and Coach Lippard will check out Southwest as they hit the road, take on South Iredell. And Southwest 8-3, South Iredell 6-5. So good matchup there.
Yeah, I think that's an opportunity for Southwest to maybe get on to the second round. Coach Lippard, he's down in Statesville now, isn't that right?
That's right.
Down in his neighborhood, down in his old neck of the woods. Very good.
Yeah. What about Glenn at Ragsdale? Because Glenn's 5-6, Ragsdale 7-4. Ragsdale still maybe they've licked all their wounds. They're through with that Page situation. Got that out of their mind right now. Probably burn that film and throw it away and begin to head toward the playoffs. But Coach Johnny Boykin doing a great job there the past couple of years. Got his team second spot in Metro 4A. Now he's got this Glenn team coming in, who's another team that battles some tough competition in their conference over there.
Yeah, and Ragsdale's already beaten them once this season in Jamestown. So this is Glenn's second trip over to Ragsdale. Glenn, the big issue there is they lost their quarterback, Jaden Sutton, to a knee injury. He's not going to be available. I'm hearing that they've got a kid who came in from New Bern who transferred in after the hurricane, was allowed to move. Malik Patrick, who might be playing quarterback for them in this game. So maybe a little bit of a wild card that way, but also a tough situation for Glenn when just about everything that they had been doing was built around Sutton.
How about the first game? You say played one time before. How close is that score? Remember the score?
I believe it was 34-15. It was a pretty decisive Ragsdale win. So I gotta like Ragsdale in that one, unless this young man who came in from New Bern really sparks them.
Ragsdale had a guy a couple of years ago, but they had one quarterback had to sit out a year and then finally got to play that one season, kind of carried them. But Glenn, I think it was that Stephon Brown kid that was there last year. Boy, he put up some huge. He's at Appalachian now, right?
That is correct. Yeah, he's redshirting in Appalachian State. Yeah.
Be a chance he may start there one day, you think?
Boy, they're a deep program now. They've got a lot of talent, and the transition from the kind of spread offense that they ran in high school to App is a bit of an adjustment. He's certainly got the arm strength and the size.
Some of these home teams, Greenville Rose 8-3 at Eastern Guilford 9-2.
I like Eastern in that one. I mean, when you look, 9-2, the two losses were to Page and to Southeast Guilford. Both times they gave up 37 points, so they don't want to give up 37 again. That's a bad number for them, but that's a good Eastern Guilford team. A little bit young, quarterback Kamel Smith's only a sophomore, Hezekiah Newby only a sophomore, but when you've got guys like Nick Cheely, Justin Matthews, Justin Spruill, Alex Gouda, Eric Walker, guys who've been around and been deep into the playoffs, that's a big advantage. And that's a long trip for Greenville Rose, too.
If their offense gets off to a good start, Eastern Guilford, don't you think the defense can kind of carry them a little bit? Get that offense off to a good start?
There's still some big playmakers on the defense.
And Newby came in last year in the New Hanover game, didn't he?
Sure
Played
did,
pretty well there.
Yeah, when Christian McMullen, I think it was, hurt his ankle early, Newby came in, had a couple of big explosive runs. Did have a fumble that ended up costing them a little bit, but he didn't play like a freshman last year. He's still only a sophomore, and he's going to be a good one.
Like we were talking about before we signed on tonight here at Kickback Jack's Football in Focus with Joe Sirera, News and Record, the high school extra section. We were talking about the New Hanover game last year. It wasn't like Eastern Guilford didn't have a chance. They had a lot of chance to win that game last year.
Yeah, it seemed like most of the fourth quarter was, or late in the third and early in the fourth quarter, was played inside the red zone, if not inside the 10 of New Hanover, and Eastern Guilford just couldn't seem to get into the end zone. And boy, that was a tough game to lose. And I think if Eastern wins that, they win a state championship.
They were headed toward that west end zone and just couldn't seem to legitimately find the end zone. Looked like they were there, but maybe they just weren't there by the officials' call.
Cold night on that turf, on that artificial turf there. That was a tough game, but it was a heck of a game to watch.
What kind of turf talk tonight? Let's talk some turf, because the turf tomorrow night is, if we talk to the Turk who's talking about the turf is going to be tough tomorrow night because it's so much rain and only one day to dry off tomorrow. And if there's not much wind, if it's just sunshine tomorrow and cool air, it'll be tough for that field to dry out. Wet fields.
A couple of our teams that are on the road down in the Charlotte area, Northwest Guilford, their game against Vance was moved to West Meck down there because West Meck's got artificial turf.
That's a good call.
And Moorhead going down to play Charlotte Catholic. Charlotte Catholic's field is unplayable. They're going to be playing that on the turf at Charlotte Olympics. So a couple of games where they were adjusting to these conditions. Yeah, it's probably going to favor the defenses. And I think that may be a factor. And by the end of the games, it's going to be pretty cold from what they're forecasting.
The Grimsley game a couple weeks back when Grimsley played Northwest that Friday night when it rained before the game that afternoon, pouring down rain. When they played, that field got chopped up and it was mass destruction over there.
Yeah,
but Grimsley wanted to get the game before Greensboro College got the game the next day.
Yeah, they wanted to get the field earlier. They want to have a little more, a little more time to prepare. But also, they're going to be in that same kind of position. They've got to get their field ready. They do have the bye week, but they're going to have a home game next week, the Whirlies.
Boy, that field drains tough down toward that west end zone, down toward the field house.
Yeah.
I walked on that field the Greensboro College day when they played the day after Grimsley and Northwest played the night before. Just check the field out. On the field, not too bad overall, but you got down toward that end zone, down around in the field house. I mean, you walk, you put your foot down, you're going down the water.
Oh, yeah.
It drains. But back to the New Hanover situation. New Hanover and Topsail play again tomorrow night for the second time in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But good thing for New Hanover hosting the game, they got that turf field, Legion Field.
I mean, that's where most of the Wilmington teams play. You talk about rematches. You got another one over in Forsyth County. Reagan and West Forsyth played last week, played in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, last week it wasn't like one team dominated. It was like 21-16.
21-16, a tight game that went back and forth. So, that looks like a great game over that way. If anybody watching or listening in is thinking they live over in the Forsyth County area, that's a good place to be Friday.
Interesting too, both situations, Topsail and New Hanover, first time around, which New Hanover won, was at Topsail. Same thing with West Forsyth and also Reagan. The first time they played at Reagan, now they play West Forsyth.
Right.
And so West Forsyth home team with a win under the belt should be interesting because Reagan's going to be mad tomorrow night. They want to get that win. Tomorrow night, if you don't win, you're finished, as we all know. It's do or die tomorrow night.
Yeah, those are two pretty good football teams. We saw, Reagan come in and beat Page with their defense 14-7, and West Forsyth is West Forsyth.
They got better as the year went on.
Yeah, definitely.
Like they did.
They dropped that game to West, but the quarterback Gabriel Hollingsworth had a really good year. And the thing that impressed me the most when I saw them against Page was how long they are. They've got a lot of really tall kids who make it difficult for you to throw over them, and they've got a lot of speed on the outside.
Maybe we should look into getting one turf field around here. One turf field that maybe just in certain situations, especially playoff time, you got limited teams playing at home tomorrow night. One team could use that turf field. field. If you put together a Friday, Saturday night back-to-back situation, they both can play the turf field.
Yeah, I've thought for a while that there might be times when maybe as a goodwill gesture or maybe for a little bit of rental money, Guilford College.
Yeah, not a bad. I mean,
it's there.
I live there almost. I sit there a lot. That field, man, that's a good idea because a lot of teams in the past have definitely used that team as a practice field before their playoff games. If they're going to Wake Forest, you practice on that field before the game over there on the Saturday in the state championship games. And I know Page has used it, Guilford's used it.
It's been used for state playoff games in lacrosse and soccer too.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about
Ragsdale and Grimsley played a few weeks ago. They were in soccer.
Yeah. And a lot of teams have practiced up there when they could. I think Page even more so than they played that year, 2011 for the championship. They used it a couple other years too. When we have weeks like this, you could get outside. They finally said, let's go to Guilford, get at least a practice in anyway.
Yeah, I know a few teams have gone up to Prolific Park too to get some work inside.
And
I was up there Tuesday night with Southeast.
Did you see the Twitter photo of Northwest? They were. I think they must have been at Wake Forest yesterday inside because they were inside yesterday practicing. It's a great opportunity to have a good inside. They were. I think they're Wake Forest.
Yeah.
I guess that's legal. They were at Wake Forest yesterday practicing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a great facility over there. They're still working on the weight room kind of offices end of it, but I've been in there. It's a really nice place for football.
Because when I first thought, I thought maybe a Prolific Park. First thought it was Prolific, but then I kept looking close at it. That higher ceiling, I think, and different width of the way the building
had to be Wake
Forest indoor facility. Yeah,
definitely.
We talked about most of our teams. Let's talk about this one team also. All right, Southeast Guilford, who had a very good year, had a couple weeks off. They've got team coming in tomorrow night. Got that team that Dudley played a few years ago for the state championship game. Headway Cape Fear. I want to call these guys the Cape Fear Crocs because it used to be the Crocs. They play minor league baseball. Now they're the Cape Fear Colts. But they come to Southeast. Got a tough defensive team. Two names I've looked at already. I'm going to remember: Hurt and Hunt. The H&H on defense. Very tough defensive team. This Cape Fear Colts team. Yeah,
I mean, a couple of years ago they were the team that got blown out by Dudley in the state championship game, and it was a little bit misleading. Their quarterback, Justice, I think it was Galloway Velasquez, came in, had 52 total touchdowns, but he came in with a high ankle sprain, and the second or third play he was in, he re-injured it, and without him, they had no hope. And Dudley came out right off the bat and hit them with a Hendon Hooker long touchdown pass over the top, and they never recovered from that. But they're a good team. This Southeast Guilford team I really like right now. They're just playing well in just about every phase of the game. They're confident. I mean, the 1 point loss in overtime at Northwest, you kind of look back and go, wow.
A wake-up call.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The coaches say that. Some of the players acknowledge that got their attention, got them refocused. And just watching them for a little bit Tuesday night up at Prolific Park, boy, they were moving fast. Everything was tempo. It was sharp. They look really good. And you never know what's going to happen in the playoffs, but having the home field pretty much most of the way as a 2 seed would be great for them.
And good for them, too, because they've definitely got a running game. They've got the passing game. That's been incorporated with the new coach, Coach Tinsley, brought that passing game in. But they've got a running game that will work. When you take guys like Douglas and Fairley, the running backs, those guys, Ryan Douglas can run that ball out for outstanding, and Fairley just as good, if not better, a smaller back who can really get the field. Both those guys can run that ball, and that could be their advantage.
And Chad Stevens, on some tough inside runs and blocking and banging people. Fairley, for a little guy, between the tackles, he runs a lot bigger than he is. But if he gets out into space, he's tough to get.
Open
he's
field,
gone.
Hard to catch. And like you say, look at his size. He's not that big. Plus, he's only a sophomore too. Sometimes he came from somewhere out of nowhere, but he's there. And Chad, you mentioned Chad in that Dudley game with Chad Stevens. I mean, he took off and ran late in that game to get that last key touchdown. They didn't have that, but it helped to pad that final lead.
No question.
He ran over people in that game. He's tough, big, strong linebacker that can run.
Yeah, he does a lot of things for them. He's a senior leader. That's the other thing about this Southeast team. Fairley is a sophomore. You've got Tyler Hoff, receiver, a sophomore, but they have a great senior class and a lot of leadership from those kids who've been there, and it means a lot to them. Losing Trey Caldwell to that knee injury really hurt, but he's at every practice. He's at every film session.
He's part of everything.
He's part of everything. They love having him there, and he's given that team a lot of support and a big lift, and I think that could carry them away in the playoffs.
Yeah, you think about that team into the sophomores. Adam Douglas, I think, is a sophomore too. Ryan's brother, the receiver, who I think as time went on, when they kind of looked at Hoff that one one game when they got the big win against Southern Alamance, but they came on down the road a little bit, a little more to Adam Douglas. He and Ron hooked up quite a bit. They were big. I know in the Eastern Guilford game I was at. Big connection there.
Yeah, brothers. What do you expect?
Backyard football.
And their special teams are pretty good. Jonathan Medlin has
They got two. A lot of teams have one. They've got two.
Yeah.
Lowe's and Medlin both.
Yeah, and in the playoffs, when it could come down to an extra point or a field goal, that's huge.
I tell you, Lowe's is so big. He's like 6'3", weighs about 240, I think.
Yeah.
And they did have Braxton King was back to begin, and he got hurt. He put Lowe's back there to kick, and Lowe's kept the spot. I guess I hope King is back. I expect he's back now. And he's a big plus too to have him on there. Another senior.
And they've got great guys up front. Jonathan King and Montez Mansfield, Jake Rapp. I mean, guys who've been there. They are a big physical team. I mean, I've talked before about how big Dudley is up front, and Page has said that. But this Southeast front is really large on both sides too. And again, in the playoffs, when you may have to grind it out, that's great to have.
Yeah, they're big up front. They move pretty well too.
Yep.
Some guys are big. They give you 2 or 3 steps. They're pretty much drug out. They're tired. But these guys, 3 or 4 steps, they're getting you up the field.
And a couple of them are wrestlers. Jonathan King's a wrestler, and
they've got that toughness.
The toughness and that. They can give you a 5 or 6 minute burst because they're used to it in wrestling, and that's a drive. You're just basically, in terms of the wrestling, a full bout is like one long touchdown drive.
That's right.
And the mentality too of those wrestling guys, you see it with John Oxy. I mean, he's a beast, and those guys from wrestling, they get the hand technique, they learn about leverage, they learn about endurance, and just winning one-on-one matchups.
All that one-on-one survival.
Exactly.
Another big game tomorrow night. We got to get outside here just a little bit. We got to get Coach Fritz in here. Coach Fritz hits the road to D.H. Conley, I believe.
Yeah.
And he goes on the road. He's a low C, but I think he's got a good chance because he's 9-2. Team he's playing is 8-3. I think he's right there with those guys.
Oh yeah, they're a 3 seed because they lost to Southeast and Eastern. I mean that's a 3-team conference really, and those were the 2 teams they lost to, and they didn't get blown out by either one. They're a pretty good team, and if you haven't seen Wing T football much, they're going to be a problem for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much you look at it on film, unless you've seen a little bit of what they do. They're going to hit you early, and they're going to grind you.
And they're moving those guys around a lot, too. The quarterback, Hatfield, may be at the quarterback start of the game. He'd be maybe at a slot back, wide receiver.
Yeah.
He'd be all over the field.
They want to get him as many touches as they can and make you, as a defense, find him before the snap and figure out where he is. And sometimes it's a decoy.
Yeah, once you find him, like you say, the other guy, the new quarterback, he may be taking over on the ball, too.
Yep. And to have an athlete like that is huge. That has made the first season down there for Coach Fritz's success. Yeah, that and those kids were ready to win and bought in.
And plus, he swept Alamance County this year. Beat every Alamance County. Couldn't get the Guilford County teams, but he beat everybody in Alamance County, top to bottom. Western Alamance, Eastern Alamance, beat Graham, beat Williams, beat them all.
Yeah.
And some of them convincingly.
Yeah, and that West. You talked about wake-up calls with Southeast Guilford. The Western Alamance guys will tell you that losing 14-3 to open against Southern Alamance got their attention. They tweaked their offense. They made some positional moves with a few guys. They won 10 in a row.
Yeah, and they're on a run right now too. They're playing Williams in round 1 at home. So
yeah, that's a local matchup. That's a backyard matchup for them.
Might be a quick exit for Williams with Western Alamance. That game against Northern Guilford. Listen to that game with Chris Walzer and Dimitri Morrison on Greensboro Sports Radio 2 a couple of weeks back. Heck of a game. Northern had the edge early, but in the second half it was all Western Alamance. Didn't even one touchdown to win it when they got tied up. But that quarterback / running back, that guy was Oakley, I think is Oakley.
Yeah, Braden Oakley.
Powerhouse. Powerhouse back
there. They're an interesting team. I mean, that program has been successful for a long time. Hal Capps had a great run there. Jeff Snuffer has done a fantastic job since he's been there. And one little interesting side story on them is one of their key players is a young lady named Lauren Carlton, and she's not just a kicker. She has scored a touchdown this year. She plays H-back at times. She plays defensive end or linebacker at times, so she gets quality reps. She is a very smart, very tough young lady. She's going to Elon on a track and field scholarship to throw, shot put, and discus.
Strong.
She is a very physically and mentally tough young lady.
And they've got a top-notch first-rate kicker, first-tier kicker, too.
Oh, yeah.
That kid who battles with
Smith.
Oh, yeah. Back and forth.
Yeah.
That kid's a great kicker down there.
Yeah, I've joked around with a couple of the guys who do the radio over there for their games that we ought to have some kind of a kickoff between those two, from different distances and angles, and they're both outstanding kickers. And again, in the playoffs, in a tight game, a kicker can make all the difference.
Yeah, I still remember that first game of the year, Eastern Guilford and and Northeast Guilford at Eastern 16-14. Eastern
Yes.
wins based upon the kick in that game of Colin Smith.
Yeah, 3 field goals. He's almost every kickoff's a touchback. He's a good punter, can pin teams back with that, with hang time or directional kicking.
Yeah, I think he had a 61-yard punt that night.
Yeah,
Heck of a punt.
he's an outstanding player. I mean, he could be the difference, no question.
Yeah, it could be a big field goal made to win that game.
Yeah.
Let's go with Joe Sirera right now from News Record. What about, we talked about this before, a few weeks back, about midway through the year. What about now to end the regular season? Who would you say would be the coach of the year? Got some candidates out there.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe nobody clear cut, but there are some good choices at the top.
yeah, I mean, obviously Kennedy Tinsley has to be in the conversation with the kind of year. They were good last year, but he's built on it. Darryl Brown getting Grimsley back to the
Darryl Brown, got him on
playoffs.
the list, yeah.
Eric Westberg had
Got
his
him on
team in
that list,
contention
yeah.
for Mid-State 3A championship with the Alamance schools. That's a good league. That's probably where I would put most of it right now.
I've got those three, and I put a fourth, and I put Johnny Boykin in again because he called up last year's 7-4 with a 7-4 back-to-back years. Good job there.
There's a lot to be said for consistency, and he came in late in a tough situation, getting promoted when Tommy Norwood left to go down to South Carolina, and he did nothing but take the baton and run it faster.
I think he did too. I still say it's the difference in a lot of stuff he does. He's got those kids in the weight room year-round. It's like a jungle in there, but it's a controlled environment jungle. He's got those guys working. I'll tell you what, in the weight room, in the preseason interview, they're in there with a whistle. I've never seen a whistle in a weight room. Usually, the weight room, you go in, you got your plan, they give you a piece of paper, you know what you do, just do your work. They do drills. It's drills in the weight room, which is great. I mean, supervision.
A lot of teams want everything that they do to be a competition.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you don't have your kids in other sports, in basketball, baseball, wrestling, track, whatever it is, they want them competing every day in everything that they do, and that's a perfect example.
And I can think of a good example: Jacob Gates and Xavier McIntyre. McIntyre and Gates, two strong kids, compete all the time. And McIntyre, I guess, it paid off for him last week.
Yeah, long touchdown pass on a fake punt against Page. That was huge.
Big game last week, Page and Rags. The big games this week in the playoffs. How about we talk about the coach of the year? We've got Coach Brown, we got Coach Tinsley, got Coach Westbrook, Coach Boykin. What about the player of the year? I put down 2 names. You've got some other names, I'm sure too. You know the 2 names at the top of the list, I'm sure.
Javondre Page has to be for me in the conversation. It's been a weird year. We don't have, you've talked about it at GreensboroSports.com, nobody with tremendous numbers that jump at you. Ryan Douglas from Southeast probably has to be in the conversation. But, last year, we had some very good players and better numbers than this year, but I kind of went into the playoffs saying somebody's going to win it in the playoffs, and for me, that was Dominique Graves at Eastern Guilford.
Absolutely.
He had a great playoff, and he carried it over this year. This past week, he was named Offensive Rookie of the Year in the CIAA at Winston-Salem State.
Plus, they beat a Fayetteville State team that was rolling going in. They beat them by 30 points, I think it was.
Yeah, he once they settled on him as their quarterback and he got comfortable, you saw the same kind of growth and development that he had over the last 2 years at Eastern Guilford, and his trajectory just continues upward. I mean, he's only going to get better. He to me, he won it last year during the postseason, and I'm kind of waiting for somebody to do that this year. We don't have that one stud running back. We don't have that one quarterback putting up tremendous passing numbers. We've had some of the better numbers are sophomore Keith McDuffie at High Point Central when we had his passing and rushing numbers. Montarius Godfrey, the running back, but wins and
no defense over there.
Right, and wins and losses have to come into it somewhere. And maybe it's a defensive guy. I mean, again, a team that didn't have a good year, but a guy who just makes plays every game, tackles for losses left and right, and puts up tremendous numbers. Roman Johnson at Southern Guilford he's a fantastic player. He's committed to Elon right now. Maybe another school comes in and scoops him up, but man, is he tough on defense.
And like I said, to the playoffs, maybe between Douglas and maybe Javondre Pace, who gets it. Now, who was the other quarterback East real quickly when Dominique was rotating?
Brian Barr.
Barr, yeah.
Who's down at Campbell, I believe now, playing some ball. I think he's a defensive back.
That's like a name that almost becomes hidden now from us. We kind of lose that name because of the way Dominique played once he got going at Eastern Guilford.
Yeah, but I mean, Brian Barr.
That's a good combination.
A huge interception at Western Alamance a couple years ago on their way to the state championship game. They don't finish that regular season unbeaten if he doesn't go up and make an incredibly athletic play in the end zone late for an interception.
What about good chance we might see Eastern Guilford, Southeast Guilford round 2?
I hope so. That would be a great matchup. A little bit unfortunate that if that's what we get, that one of those teams would eliminate the other, that we couldn't have both of them in the third round. But boy, that would be a great matchup. Already played once. Southeast got up big early at Eastern, and then Eastern came back and really made it interesting. But this one would beat Southeast.
And it's better round 2 than round 1 anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely. We don't want to lose any of our teams any earlier than we have to.
Absolutely. What does a team like Page have to do to beat an East Forsyth if they see them down the road? That's quite a challenge.
It's a challenge. They have to score more points.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing, I really like East Forsyth to win that 4A West bracket. I think this is the year. They came so close a few years ago, losing in overtime, blowing a late lead against Mallard Creek, the Mallard Creek team that beat Page in the 4AA final. I think this is their best shot, really, to get to a state championship game. Dropping a 42-14 loss on Page at Page really told me that this is a very good East Forsyth team. I don't know what Page could do differently.
You got to get a grip on Chris Lyles, that kid. Got to grip on that guy. Does so much in that quarterback spot. Yeah. He's only a sophomore.
And they're so big up front, and they're so good on offense and defense up front. Can Page beat them? Of course they can. But they need to play a perfect game. They need no mistakes, and they need a couple of probably special plays by either Javondre Page or Cody King or both to win it.
How about this? Let's go some pro with Joe right quick as we begin to wind her down.
Okay.
First half of the show. Green Bay Packers 4-4-1 at the Seattle Seahawks 4-5. NFL matchup tonight. Plus both coaches might be looking for new jobs in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe Pete Carroll retires, 67 years old.
He doesn't look it.
Yeah, he does. Still got the hair. Everything's perfect.
Yeah.
And they got a new owner probably coming in for the team after the owner
Paul
died.
Allen passed away.
Plus you got the Seahawks and you got the Packers. Packers McCarthy, 13 years there, and things are a little bit stale at Green Bay right now.
Yeah, I mean he's been Aaron Rodgers kind of quarterback whisperer over the years, but I think I like Green Bay in that game, but boy, yeah, I think both of those coaches are kind of the NFL. It's rare to last as long as McCarthy has with his team, or even Pete Carroll, and it's a what have you done for me lately business, and I could definitely see both of those
things. They mentioned
changing.
some of that in the article I was reading about because he had a couple of coaches came to Green Bay had tenure. You had Ray Rhodes came only about a year. He was there quick and gone. It didn't last long at all for him. To the Panthers, we missed that game last week. Probably good we did. It was about 52-21. All three Panthers touchdowns. McCaffrey had to do all the work last week. All three touchdowns. So that Sunday they're playing the Lions. 3-6 Lions, 6-3 Panthers. I just wish this game could be played Thanksgiving Day. Wish it could have been Panthers Thanksgiving because the Lions would be playing Thanksgiving. You know that.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely like the Panthers in this one. The Lions have been struggling, although one of the Lions starters is lives up in Summerfield now. Tavon Wilson, one of their safeties, lives up in Summerfield. His wife is from High Point, and he's been here for a couple of years now. Got a little bit of a local connection there. But, I look at what Eric Ebron is doing elsewhere, and I think, boy.
I know. Why didn't you let that guy go?
Yeah.
Somebody could have reached him. They should have got in touch with him because, gosh, 3 touchdowns last Sunday. One of those rushing touchdown. Got the big 85 with his back, big smile on his face right now. He's happy at Indianapolis for sure.
Yeah, it seems like he's finally fulfilling the potential, finally living up to what we've known he could do.
Down that sideline, he didn't get out of bounds. He was towing that rope down the sideline at one touchdown, and other variations on the other 2. But great job by him. College football, Wake Forest making a key statement. Let's say statement after last week's win in Raleigh against State. Tough night for the Wolfpack fans last week. You got Pitt and Wake on Saturday. It'd be a big win for Wake to upset Pitt because Pitt's in the driver's seat for playing the conference championship.
Yeah, more by default, I think, than anything else. I mean, they're a good team, but I think State's a better team. To me, a better team than Pitt. So Wake, they've got more than a puncher's chance in that game. I think that would be a great win for them.
It's kind of crazy too because the kid out of Graham, Jamie Newman steps in, third string quarterback, and beats State like he was meant to do it his entire life.
Yeah, I mean they've had all kinds of injuries and other issues at quarterback this year, but going forward, Sam Hartman getting hurt. Going forward, they're going to have some decisions to make because these are all young guys.
Is that the place where the kid out of Eastern IMS, John Lamont, is playing linebacker? I know he's playing linebacker at Pitt or Syracuse or Boston College, one of those 3.
I thought it was Boston College.
Might be Boston
Pretty
College.
Sure it's Boston College.
Doing pretty well there too, from what I read.
Yeah, he was a tremendous athlete at Western Elements. Talked about that game with Eastern a few years ago. He was a part of that.
State at Louisville. State better win this game, otherwise they're in trouble.
Boy, yeah, Louisville is a train wreck right now. Football, basketball, they
got an interim coach right now too, right?
Yeah, that athletic program has all kinds of issues on and off the field right now. And boy, if you're State and you lose that one, then your season took a really hard turn to the south very quickly.
Deal.
Yeah.
Duke at Clemson. It's gonna be tough for anybody to win at Clemson.
It is. I've seen point spreads like 4 touchdowns on that game. I think that's an awful lot. I think Duke is better than that. But yeah, that at night down there, that is going to be a very tough environment for the Blue Devils.
If UNC loses to Western Carolina, they may bring the Board of Regents up and say, we've got a lot of money in our back safe here. We're going to get rid of Larry Fedora right now. That would be crazy.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to lose to Western Carolina. We do have some local kids obviously up there. Connell Young, former Dudley running back, having a good year. Will Jones seems to be getting more and more snaps, more reps, and he's the future at quarterback for them. So, I'd like to see those two young men do well, obviously.
Quickly to the basketball with Joe Sirera with the News and Record High School Extra section on. Football in focus, Kickback Jacks for Thursday. Got the Phenom Hooch Showcase coming to Greensboro Day. Friday and Saturday both got some great teams coming out. Greensboro Day and Christ School play here pretty quickly. That's going to be a major matchup.
Yeah, Christ School supposedly has some big-time Division I talent. We know Greensboro Day does. Greensboro Day's schedule this year, they've already started. They've got a game or two under their belts. Private schools start earlier, and down the line, they're going to go down to play at Charlotte Providence Day right before Christmas, December 22nd, against Wendell Moore Jr. and Cox Mill. That's a great game.
It's a good
down
matchup.
The line, they're going to go over to Winston-Salem at Reynolds and play Winston-Salem Prep over there around Thanksgiving. That was where they played Southwest a couple years ago in a matchup of two teams that ended up, in the state championship games and winning. So they're fun to watch, and that's a good event. They are bringing some big-time teams in.
They got that one kid I wrote about on the website, J.C. Tharrington, coming in from Charlotte Christian, the grandson of George Lehman. People remember George Lehman, the sharpshooter. Wow, that's what the best. I love that guy.
Yeah.
He played for the Cougars that one year. When they got him, great. He's the best shooter, but he didn't play in college. He was going to go to the ACC, but he went to Campbell. Back when Campbell might have been a junior college, they called Campbell Prep School back then. Went to Campbell 1 year. That summer, he played for some team, and they paid him $100. Never could go to college. He was considered a pro after that. And he was in the pros. But boy, he could 3-point shooter. George Lehman was great.
Yep.
His daughter Nicole Lehman, I guess last name Tharrington, she's married, but played at NC State. Outstanding player there too back in the day.
Yeah, I think JC just either signed or committed with Appalachian, right?
Because the other kid joined up there too, the Gregory kid out of another school coming in, that Carmel Christian. They've got a good team. They were state champs last year.
Yeah, and that's another team that Greensboro Day plays. I think they might have lost to them last year. I think that might have been one of their losses on the road, but they come up to Greensboro Day this year. They've got a great schedule.
They see that Donovan Gregory guy from Carmel Christian, just a monster. He's going to Appalachian too, and got a younger brother on the team. Jeremy Gregory is supposed to be out, but a lot of talent at that Phenom Hooch Showcase coming up Friday and Saturday, Greensboro Day.
That's correct. Yeah, they're going to have games in the main gym, the Dillard gym, as well as the auxiliary gym, Freddie Johnson gym. Hey, if anybody deserves to have a gym named after him in high school basketball around here, it would be Coach Johnson.
You got to have a street name after Greensboro Day, probably a road, whatever.
Maybe a stretch of Lawndale or something gets renamed for him.
Absolutely, I agree. Well, Joe, I think you covered quite a bit tonight. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Tomorrow you'll be on the road traveling, going down to Lee County.
Yeah, Sanford taking the run down 421. That'll be fun.
What time do you leave out for that game? Got an itinerary set yet?
Yeah, probably. I want to be on the road by 5:30 for that, just to make sure I give myself plenty of time, get the lay of the land, get set up in the press box, and watch the Panthers in Lee County warm up.
Should be a lot of fun. Hopefully it's going to be sunny and dry tomorrow. That's the main thing.
Cool from what I'm hearing, but I'll be ready.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Joe Sirera, News and Record High School Extra section. Pick it up and check it out online like a lot of other options. It's one of the best options online these days. You got the Page guys coming in next tonight. We'll take a quick break and get them in. They're ready to go, I think, so we'll